This is the Son of the Law podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Son of the Law podcast. I'm your host, Jay Christopher. Today's guest is a son of Ray County, Northwest Missouri State Bearcat, nationally syndicated radio host, husband, father, man of faith, and now a candidate for Missouri's 6th congressional district. That's a lot to talk through.
In no particular order.
In no particular order, yeah. So Chris Stigall is here, and I'm so thankful to have you here, sir. Welcome.
Chris, thank you. It's an honor to be here. I enjoy your show and thrilled to have this conversation.
Awesome. This episode, as we talk about you being in the run for Missouri's 6th district, this episode really isn't about politics in the traditional sense. A lot of people know your voice, know your opinions, the commentary through your show and various things. But today I'd like to kind of get to know you beyond the microphone, beyond the run. And, as I think about this show and our platform, we're really about small town people with big time stories. And your approach, your story is right in line with that. So I think it's big news that you're running for Congress, and we want to talk about that a little bit there at the end, but definitely want to get to know you first.
Well, awesome. And I think what you've learned about me before the show even started is I'm a klutz. I just threw coffee all over the man's kitchen. So I'm sorry about that. Thank you for brewing a second one.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And like I said, it's my opportunity to make another one. I don't get a chance to use my equipment.
And by the way, I don't know if you talk about it enough. You make a darn good cup of coffee.
Thank you.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I got what is the elf quote in my mind? The best cup of coffee. You did it. You really did it. And it's probably over there. Good crap.
I don't know how many barista / podcasters there are. You may be one of the rare birds out there.
I don't know about that, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. This episode is brought to you by Complete Auto Service Center. If you've ever chased the cheapest price on auto repair and ended up paying for it later, this is for you. At Complete Auto Service Center, value means you get more than you pay for, because every vehicle is inspected by experienced, certified technicians every time. You don't just get a bill. You get a clear, detailed report that shows what's solid, what needs attention now, and what you can plan for in the future. That means fewer surprises, smarter decisions, and real peace of mind. They also move fast. Your vehicle is looked at the same day, and they communicate quickly, so you're never left waiting or wondering. Your time matters, and they treat it that way. I've known Mark and Amanda for years, and they've built a shop that treats customers like family and vehicles like their own. From simple maintenance to major repairs, they use quality parts and stand by their work with a 36-month, 36,000-mile warranty. If you want honesty instead of upsells, confidence instead of guesswork, and service that respects your time, visit CompleteASC.com or stop by 718 Woolard Boulevard in Richmond. Complete Auto Service Center. Complete maintenance, complete repairs, complete peace of mind. Spring is almost here, and if you're ready for a lawn that actually turns heads this year, now's the time to call Cutting Edge Landscapes. I've trusted them with my own yard, and I can tell you firsthand, the results speak for themselves. Thicker grass, richer color, a lawn that looks professionally cared for because it is. Right now, they're offering a limited time early bird special. When you sign up for all 5 rounds of their professional lawn treatment program, you'll get 50% off aeration or 1 full application absolutely free. It's your choice. And they don't just do lawn treatments. Cutting Edge Landscapes handles everything. Custom landscaping, beautiful hardscapes, sprinkler systems, all completed by licensed professionals who take pride in every detail. With over 40 years serving our community, they've built a reputation for quality work and fair pricing that you can trust. Spring schedules fill up fast, so don't wait. Call Kent and Brandon today, 816-580-3343, or visit callcuttingedge.com. Cutting Edge Landscapes. Your lawn will thank you. All right. I also want to just thank all of you for supporting the show. You are why we do this and what this is all about. You can message us for merch on Instagram at Son of the Law Podcast, email sonofthelaw@gmail.com. Got Richardson hats, ultra soft tees, sizes small through XXX. And if you're enjoying the show, subscribe, follow, turn those notifications on across Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen. Reminder, new episodes drop every other Monday at 6 a.m., so it's perfect for that drive to work or you'll never miss a Monday workout.
May I ask what your audience says about your show? What kind of feedback have you gotten?
So ironically, when I tell them about who I'm introducing or who I'm going to interview, they go, "Oh, I've always wanted to know more about that person." And that is validation for me.
Yeah.
Because, I feel like I get to sit down and talk with people about the deep things. Not everybody gets 2 uninterrupted hours, no phones, no anything, and just talk to everybody. And then I found that the people closest to those that I interview, whom I interview, come away thinking, I'd heard that story, but I didn't know that. Or I want to, I want to know more about that based on that. Like, I didn't know he did that or that, you know what I mean? And so all of that is probably some of the best validation that I get.
I will give you evidence of that personally in that you interviewed the Swaffords, Reason and Jackie, not too long ago about Reason's harrowing, really life beyond his accident.
Yeah.
I did not know as much about Reason as you got out of him in that conversation, for instance. And as much as I knew about their accident and the things that they were dealing with in the present day, I didn't realize his entire backstory. It was fascinating. Yeah. So I spent a few days listening to that one. And so I appreciate what people are saying to you, because that's exactly what I took from it.
Yeah, thank you. And that appreciate you listening over the course of a few days. That was like 3 hours.
That was a long one.
3 hours long. And you'll see just in our conversation here, I can't do short form. Yeah. I can't figure it out. I'm not good with little sound bites or anything like that. I need time to just get to know you and spend that time together.
It is the healthiest debate right now in media. And we are in an era, as you know, that is nothing but short form, quick hit, 1 minute or less, social media rewards, 1 minute or less posts.
Yeah.
And I've always been a conversationalist.
Yeah.
And I've always enjoyed talk radio. And that's generally a 3-hour prospect with commercials, of course.
Sure.
But I never thought about time. I always kind of wanted the conversation to go where it went.
Right. Right.
And conventional wisdom today is people don't have time for that. Just get to it. And I'm like you. I still think people like to kind of kick back and listen to a conversation.
Completely agree. And as I have not necessarily raised my kids with this concern, but as I've engaged other people and their kids and other, kids in the community, it is a dying art.
Yes, it is.
And to have have the ability to talk about one thing and then meander a conversation into something else and enjoy the process and think about how you're going to say and what the other person might interpret, and work through that process together. And it's like a dance almost. And I don't know, the 140 characters in an Instagram post or it's just not, it's not there.
I bet you've raised your kids the same as Christine and I did, in that we, the one thing I will brag on raising children who know how to communicate. Mm-hmm. We always put a premium on them ordering their own meals, asking people for assistance.
Right.
We would ask them to do the thing rather than do it for them. And what's stunning is to see 20-year-olds today who genuinely almost seem like they can't. They can't. They physically don't know how to ask a waiter or waitress for help or how to order a meal. It's bizarre, but that's kind of where we are culturally.
Yeah, and basic please and thank you and social decorum.
Yes.
I read a book in college called Panache That Pays, like ways to have polite conversation at work or at home, or if you're going to go to a funeral, what you should say to the grieving widow or widower if, you're there. Like just trying to develop yourself in such a way that you have the ability to express yourself and the feelings and the thoughts that you're having. I don't know, in a diplomatic way.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
So anyway, thank you again for taking the time to come on the show. I have followed your work and admired you for quite a while. And in fact, I don't want to fluff you too much here, but about 2 years ago on Halloween night, I was contemplating starting this podcast journey. And ultimately, so that was October. November, I started ordering a bunch of podcast stuff and took advantage of Black Friday sales and things of that nature. And ultimately started recording in December. But the conversation I had Halloween night, I was sitting around the campfire and talking with some friends. We have a campfire here at the house on Halloween. And we were talking about this idea. And they're like, what are you thinking? What's your kind of North Star here? How do you think, whatever? I said, ironically, like Chris Stigall and his story of kind of born and raised in Kansas City, moved off, went to school where I went. He's come back. Now he's this nationally syndicated talk show host. That is the people see him as this, but I grew up here. I see 100 stories like that, like Reason, who people, if you don't know them, if you're not like right in their space and world, you would never know the thing that took to build them into the person that brought them to the place where they are. And so you were kind of a North Star guest. And so this is a bit of a manifestation there. And I'm just so thankful to have you here.
Well, I'm flattered. That's very nice to say. Thank you so much.
This episode is brought to you by the Lawson Review. Since April 8th, 1881, one thing has never stopped in Lawson, Missouri, the local newspaper. From the very first printing of the Lawson Gazette to today's Lawson Review, this is the county's oldest newspaper with uninterrupted publication. Generations have lived it, written it, and read it week after week. The Lawson Review isn't just news. It's school events, local sports, city decisions, community voices, and the stories that may not make the big city headlines, but matter most right here at home. A subscription is just $29 for 1 year or $51 for 2 years. It's an affordable way to support local journalism and stay connected to your community. Contact the Lawson Review at lawsonreview@gmail.com. Visit at 405 North Pennsylvania, Lawson, Missouri, or call 816-296-3412. The Lawson Review, your hometown paper, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I've also learned a lot by listening to you and how you communicate. We talked a little bit about that. Respect the consistency, professionalism, longevity you've maintained in the industry. You don't do this for 25 years without loving it. And again, I think you have the ability to conversation flip. So I'll be watching myself. You're a very good job at just turning the conversation and asking questions and getting me to talk when it's like, hey, that's my job. I'm going to ask you questions today. But you to do that demonstrates that you really love it. And appreciate you're willing to speak openly also about your faith, your family, your convictions. A lot of people can talk. Very few people communicate kind of both really clearly and authentically. So
thank you.
Yeah. And also know how busy you are. I've listened to some of your campaign episodes and things of that nature and know that I think your quote was, every moment you're not spending talking to people feels like wasted time right now.
Yeah.
And to commit this kind of time is really a privilege.
Oh, well, I honestly, to me, this is reaching far more people than I ever could on my own. You're providing me a platform to reach folks certainly in the 6th Congressional District that maybe we'll never get a chance to say hello in person.
Certainly.
So thank you.
That's my pleasure. Okay. What we do is take a few minutes, please, to introduce yourself. Mm-hmm. Born and raised, a little bit about your family. I'd like to know about your wife and kids, any siblings you might have, how people might know you, ties to the Lawson area, small town living, and then something people wouldn't know or would be surprised to discover about you. I'll walk through that as you meander.
Okay. So broadly, let's see, 30,000 foot view, born in Richmond, Missouri. First, and by the way, hold your applause. First baby born in Ray County in 1977.
Okay.
January 5th. Cover of the Daily News with my mother holding me. I've got a little paper crown on the Richmond Daily News, so I'm royalty.
12:01?
Yeah. It was actually 7 p.m.
Okay.
On January 5th. But that was the first baby born in Ray County that year.
How about that?
So I like to throw that out there right away, just because I like to brag. Big accomplishment there. But anyway, my grandparents lived in Richmond till they died, and I spent years, even after my parents divorced and then moved to the city, every weekend almost of my young life straight through high school, and even a little later than I think my grandparents were comfortable with in high school, I spent at their house because awesome. There is, and we'll probably get into this in more detail.
Definitely.
There was no place in the world to me as special as my grandparents' home in Richmond, Missouri. So I have a fondness for Richmond in my heart, even though I didn't go to school there, and I really didn't spend most of my childhood there growing up. But on Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, I did. And so I got to know many, many people there at the United Methodist Church in Richmond over the years. I grew up in fact, Jackie Swafford, who you had on the show, right. I've known her since we were, I suppose, in kindergarten.
That's crazy.
Going to Sunday school together, and several of our other friends who grew up in Richmond. So after that, I went up into the city, as I said, North Kansas City School District. I graduated from Oak Park High School, and then ultimately went on to Northwest Missouri State University to study broadcasting, and that's where I met my wife, Christine. We are going to be celebrating 26 years of marriage on the 10th, Wednesday the 10th.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
My wife and I just celebrated 25 this last week.
That's a big one.
It is.
Yeah, that was our big one last year. So 26 this year. And after that graduation, we moved back to the city, and she started teaching. She was a public school teacher at the time, middle school. And I was blessed enough, and really my professional story is as time goes on and the more I reflect on it, the more I realize how very blessed and charmed it has been, because it's rare. What I've been able to do courtesy of other people. Conan O'Brien just said recently in a graduation survey, don't ever, and he said it eloquently, and I'm going to butcher it, but he basically said, don't tout yourself too much. Don't think too much of your professional victories or accomplishments. Don't give short shrift to good luck and people that have helped you.
Right.
It'll keep you humble. It'll keep you. It'll just keep you more present and aware of the situation every day. If you don't get too high on your own supply, if you will, of success. So I'm profoundly aware that I was given a gift from God, first of all, but then God put so many wonderful people in my place through internships and other things who said, all right, kid, I'll give you a shot. And so I was able to get my start in Kansas City. And so I say all that to say, getting to start in Kansas City from a place like Northwest Missouri State was a big start. Not something that typically happened for broadcasters back then. You had to go to a small town to start.
Right.
And then work your way back to a city like Kansas City. And I was fortunate enough to get my start in Kansas City. Although I didn't hold on to jobs for long. I lost many jobs, about 5 of them in Kansas City, and job hopped and job hopped and job hopped, but I stayed in radio.
Yeah.
I ultimately ended up spending 2 years working for Sam Graves, the congressman who currently represents North Missouri, because quite frankly, I needed a job, and I had a couple of friends that worked for the congressman. And so I ended up representing him for a time as a field representative in Clay County.
Right.
But other than that 2-year window, I've been in broadcasting my entire career, and I ended up going back into talk radio, and I guess we can talk about that a little later. But today, 3 kids who are ages 21, my oldest son, Will, my 20-year-old son, Drew, and my daughter, who will turn 18 in August. She will be a senior in high school. Her name is Anna. So those are our 3.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is a tie? What is something people wouldn't know about you or would be surprised to discover?
Something that people wouldn't know about me. It's funny because I assume everybody listening to you and this show has no idea who I am. But what's strange is I've spent so long talking about life. I feel like I've shared just about everything people would need to know if they were listeners, but I'll assume no one knows anything about this, me on your show. So I guess I'll say, I would love nothing more than to spend my entire life in a stream at Bennett Springs State Park in southern Missouri trout fishing. I don't talk a lot about that, but if it were up to me and I had my druthers, that's where I'd be standing. That's as close to God as I get, is when I'm standing in the stream trout fishing in Bennett Springs.
That is awesome. Yeah. We grew up going to Roaring River State Park as a family, but Bennett, near and dear to many heart around here.
It's grandfather, dad, cousins, sons. It's I don't know. There's just something, I think everybody has one of those places in their lives. For me, that's it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you. And again, thank you for that. I'll have some rapid fires here for you, but I would like to get to know you more about the small town stuff. And you talk about life with your grandparents. Before microphone, politics, national radio, there was Richmond, right? Now you moved to North Kansas City. You went to North Kansas City schools. Did I have that right?
Oak Park. So the North Kansas City district, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then it was Richmond. And I think I read in something that your parents or grandparents' farm was just outside of Henrietta. Is that right?
That's right. So my great grandfather and grandfather and dad all owned some farmland. They sold it off in chunks over the years. Farming became increasingly less profitable for them. They weren't serious farmers in the sense that today people are farming thousands of acres.
Crazy.
We had a few hundred.
Yeah.
So it wasn't meaningful, but it was enough to sustain my great-grandfather's livelihood. He famously, and I just loved this, I was talking with my dad a little about this because I've had so many great conversations with farmers. I said, gosh, Dad, do you know how much combines cost these days?
Yeah. Like $1 million.
They're $1 million. And on top of that, there's technology in it now that farmers can't work on.
Right.
They got to have the John Deere guy come out and work on the thing.
Right.
I said, it just blows my mind. I don't know how anybody can do it today or how a young person can do that. And he said, your great-grandfather, ironically, I think he died in 1969. And right up till almost the end, he still went out and worked a little 10-acre plot of land near his house where he grew, vegetables and produce and stuff like that he'd sell on the square. But he always used a mule. And he would not till or work the ground with anything but a mule. This was well after tractors came on the scene. And my dad said that my great-grandfather was famously mistrustful of farm equipment. He didn't like it. He didn't want anything to do with it. He said, I'm going to work with a good old-fashioned mule. Well, his son, my grandfather, did not feel that way. He got himself a tractor and farmed at night while he worked at TWA. By the time my dad took over and inherited it, he basically rented it out to somebody else to farm and then eventually sold it. So I never farmed, and I like to tell farmers, look, I'm not going to dress up and pretend I'm a farmer. I'm a broadcaster. But I do come from that background. Henrietta, the Sunshine Bottoms, as they're called. I spent a lot of years listening to my grandfather at breakfasts in small-town diners in Henrietta and Richmond. Old farmers talking shop in the morning over coffee is one of the great memories of my life growing up.
Yeah. You're reading from the script, really. What kind of lessons come from that rural Missouri life? You spend those times there, they're talking about everything and they talk about nothing. Yeah. All at the same time. So what did you take away from that as a kid?
I always remember my dad would refer to his dad, my grandfather, as well as my grandmother, who would refer to her husband. They would always joke and say, your grandpa's going up there to just tell lies with the rest of them. They would always say, tell lies. That was always the thing, jokingly. Fish stories or whatever, they always had some yarn to spin. And sometimes they would just sit and talk about nothing. I was always kind of amazed. And I think now as an adult, I recognize how special that is and how rare that is. That we don't do that today as a culture.
Nope.
This was a watering hole. It was a gathering spot. And for men who are not, men are not typically very good at being social anyway.
Right.
But I would argue that back then, these are working men, hardworking men, but they still valued communing with one another.
Yeah.
There's something special and interesting about that we've gotten away from.
Completely agree.
Men in particular. And there's something good and healthy about men connecting. And I don't know that it was ever deep or spiritual or even meaningful necessarily, but they knew there was an undercurrent of, I can trust you, I can count on you.
Yeah. Fellowship,
we're
brotherhood.
checking on one another. If there's trouble, we can help.
Absolutely. Well, and those environments, I think, too, are where you learn how to be a little thicker skinned,
Yes.
Because if you're talking with a bunch of farmers and whatnot, and you're not doing something right or whatever, they're going to let you know and they're going to make fun of you and they're going to poke at you and you know what I mean? And you're going to, that's how you grow up.
That's exactly right. And it warms my heart every time we stop in a smaller community here in North Missouri, and I'll still see at the local McDonald's a group of older folks
Me too.
gathered.
Yep.
That I still love that.
Yep.
I hope the country never loses that.
Yeah, me too. What did you think you'd become? You growing up around that environment, kid, 10 years young, hanging out with grandpa, dad at these places. Did you idolize that? Did you think, I want to be a farmer? I want to, whatever. Or you typical kid, I want to be a fireman. I want to be an astronaut, whatever. Like, how did you think about your life moving forward from that age?
God put on my heart at a very, very young age, an unreasonably young age, actually. And I've realized that I am trying not to hold my children to this standard.
Okay.
I have a friend that reminds me often, do you know how odd your childhood is, in that from my earliest memories, I loved broadcasting and I loved listening to people on the radio. And
Really?
I loved the way radio people were connecting with people in my life. I saw my parents getting ready for work and listening to the guy on the radio. There was something instantly to me that just connected. I thought, I remember my grandmother listening to 61 Country, 610 AM.
Yeah.
Paul Harvey would come on.
Yeah.
And I was like, these people that I love the most are captivated by these people in this box.
Yeah.
Who is that guy? What's he doing?
Paul Harvey's rest of the story, legacy stuff.
I remember the tone, the ping, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Page 2,
Yeah. How do you feel about Wait, Don't Tell Me? Have you heard that?
No.
It's on, I occasionally listen to it on Saturday mornings, running around or whatever. He'll stick on.
That's on NPR.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
NPR.
I know what that is.
And it's like a game show,
Yes.
but I don't know, the ability for a broadcaster to turn a phrase based on what somebody says. It's kind of quasi stand-up comedy.
Yes.
And, what was the guy's name with the Will Rogers,
Yes.
just the famous ability to take some political thing or some current event and make a joke out of it or apply it to your life. It's magical.
Yes, it is. And I always admired it. And so while I loved being with my grandfather, teaching me to fish, driving me around the farm, being with my grandmother, and growing up in small towns, my eye was always squarely on broadcasting.
Yeah.
I always knew I never wanted to do anything else but that. And
That's
so
incredible.
That's what I say. God put that on my heart. And it has been a rare, unusual focus for really almost the entirety of my life until recently. And maybe, and we could discuss this later, to almost an unhealthy degree, it was such a focus that I do have to remind myself that is not typical.
Yeah.
Young people, like my kids, don't necessarily know what they want to do yet, and I got to be okay with that. It drives me crazy when young people say, I don't know what I want to do. I think, how can you not? Because I loved that thing so much, right? But I don't think that's usual, and so I consider it a blessing now. It was a curse for a time too.
Sure. I'd love to talk more about that. On the way, as we kind of peel the onion, who believed in you early? Did you have folks around you, people who recognized the desire, your personal call to broadcasting or whatever, said, and your voice is intimidating. Like we're sitting here and I'm like, oh my gosh, that voice is iconic.
Well.
And not everybody likes their voice. And that was one of the things I struggled with to move into this space, but
you get used to it.
You do. But somebody said, yeah, that kid got the stuff, or I want to see this kid go from this dream to putting it into motion. Like, let's take that step. Journey of 1,000 miles, right? Begins with that first step.
You asked that, and I immediately welled up because here's another blessing in life, and I wish that everyone could have it. To have parents and grandparents and a group of people around you who do nothing but encourage you. I never had anyone ever say to me, you can't, or that's silly, or why would you waste time with that? Never once.
That's awesome.
I've never had anything but 100% support, and probably to an unreasonable degree. I mean, my family put up with things, put up with me, put up with my impatience and my drive to do this.
Were you one of those kids like super precocious? I I don't know. I'm convinced I had ADHD before it was diagnosable. Right? Like literally, just I'd bounce around from subject to subject, or move from here to there, and I don't know, have opinions on things.
Yeah.
And we're kind of quirky in that way.
I was not I didn't have kind of disciplinary problems. I really respected adults. I loved adults, actually. And what my family will tell you, I think, today is that as a young kid, here's what I didn't like. I didn't want to be with other kids.
Really?
I just didn't like other kids.
Okay.
Young people did not interest me because they didn't have anything to teach me.
Yeah. Okay. I love that.
I loved when
Typical
older
firstborn.
people would gather around a table, play cards, laugh, joke, tell adult things that maybe I shouldn't be hearing. And they'd say, Chris, go play. And I would be like, no, I don't want to go play. You
refuse.
people are interesting. Those dopes in the basement, I don't want to do that. I want to be up here. And so what I remember as a kid was my family telling me, Chris, go out of the room. Go away now. It's time for the adults to talk,
Yeah.
And after a while, I kept trying to figure out, all right, how can I negotiate my way into the adult conversations?
That's awesome.
And so putting on a show early was the way to do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So did you take broadcasting seriously in junior high and high school? Was there broadcasting opportunities for you, or was this literally just something that you think about the kid doing stand-up in front of the mirror, or making faces or dancing, the TikTok environment, right? Like, look at me. Did you do any of that stuff when you were in high school?
I did. I didn't know how to get there at the time. All I knew is, okay, is that a microphone? Is that a camera? Is that a play that I could be cast in and get the part? It was just about being performative in front of people and getting a reaction from people.
Were you in the drama thespians, or?
I was in high school. I was in something called forensics, which a lot of people don't know today, but it was called forensics and debate. And I competed for years and had a nice little run in high school as in what was called humorous interpretation. So they're 10-minute monologues that you basically act out. You stand in one spot and you act out an entire 10-minute one-act play.
Do you still remember them? Any of them?
No.
Okay.
I don't remember the scripts anymore. Okay. You had to burn them in your brain at the time.
I was going to say, I remember attending a few of those and amazed at some of the things I'd heard people say. Like, you're in high school and you're talking like an adult.
Yes. I just loved it. So by high school now, there were something called the morning announcements.
Okay.
And that was a closed circuit TV broadcast in-house every morning.
That's awesome.
So by the time I got to high school, I had figured out how to not only get on that thing, but in my final 2 years, something that really should not have been allowed.
Right.
I got to do that every single morning for 2 years.
That's insane.
Now, why?
Talk about experience.
Why or how in a large school like that I was allowed, and I shouldn't have been, because there were other kids I'm sure that would have loved that opportunity.
Right.
And frankly, people liked my commitment to it. I wore a tie every single day to school.
Did you really?
Every day.
Oh, wow.
And didn't get beaten up for it.
Yeah.
In fact, it just kind of became my thing.
Yeah, you when you embrace who you really are, that's one of the most freeing moments of anybody's life, I think.
I'm one of the rare, I think, people in the world that can say, I loved my high school experience. I loved it. Yeah. It was foundational. It formed me, I believe, and really solidified exactly the direction I knew I wanted to go. High school did that for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you moved to Northwest, obviously where you met your lovely wife, but you were in the broadcast world. There's some real opportunities there. Were you in one of those groups with, as I remember, do you remember Justin Burton?
I do.
He was I think he was younger than you. He was there when I was there.
I know the name.
He was older than me. So we're about the same age. But anyway, he was on Letterman and he did some of these other internships. And,
Justin? Or me?
Justin. But that's what I was asking. Like it was there that I started seeing opportunities from Northwest, people having experiences there that blossomed into broadcasting exposure elsewhere.
You're saying, I'm sorry, did you say Justin Burton was on Letterman? He went to Letterman?
He did a internship with Letterman, I believe.
Well, now I did that.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't know if he may have, I don't know that, but
he would have been younger than you, I think.
Okay.
But that, so you're hitting on the answer to my question, right? What broadcasting opportunities did you have develop out of your passion for this stuff in college?
It's funny, when I graduated from Oak Park, the conventional wisdom at the time was, you've got to go to MU.
Yeah, it's one of the most famous, still is one of the best journalism schools in the country.
That's right.
Yeah.
And what I knew, though, was I really don't want to be a journalist. I didn't know what that meant.
Right.
I wanted to be on the air, but I wasn't really interested in being a newsman.
Yeah.
And then people said, but I wanted to be on the air. So my young thinking was, whatever I've got to do to make a living behind a microphone or in front of a camera, I'll just do that.
Yeah.
And so my thinking was, well, I guess I got to go to MU and study journalism. And a friend of mine that I met in radio while I was interning here in town, she said, I went to Northwest Missouri State. I said, what's that? She said, it's a great little school in Maryville. And it was a little school then.
Yeah. Yeah.
She said, you should go up and tour it. And I did. And I mean, it was tumbleweeds and nobody, a suitcase camp, but like nobody. Northwest today is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Back then, I mean, it looked like a prison camp. I mean, it was just, there was nothing going on up there.
What years were you there?
95 to 99.
Okay. I was there 98 to 02.
Okay.
So literally just.
So you saw how that stadium exploded and how that whole campus exploded and how winning football changes the culture and the whole thing. Oh my goodness.
Yes, I did. Yeah. And now I've got 3 kids going to school up there. So
But back then, that was not, now you see the Bearcat logo and everything.
Yeah.
Back then, that wasn't a thing. Everybody went to MU or you just didn't go or something, And so people were like, you want to be a guy on the microphone or in front of a camera and you're going to Northwest? Mm-hmm. But the dirty little secret that nobody knew, and a couple of my friends said, was you go to Northwest and get into the radio program, you can be on the air as a freshman.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew in MU, everybody said, well, you got to wait till you're a junior to get on the campus TV station. And I said, okay, if it means waiting to a junior or getting a crack at this right away, I want to crack at it right away.
Absolutely.
So that's why I went to Northwest.
That's awesome.
And I now can't imagine it going any other way.
Yeah, didn't look back, right? Nope. I mean, you parlay 2 years of experience in this stuff in high school right into. Yeah. I mean, you had to have shone like the sun there, bright shining freshman coming in with all this knowledge and know-how.
I was just so excited.
Yeah.
There was never a time I didn't want to be on the air.
That's awesome.
I just couldn't wait. Again, probably to an obnoxious degree. And so Northwest opened some wonderful doors and opportunities. I became a journalism minor. I did write for the paper, the Northwest Missourian. And then I got an internship to Letterman, which really blew my mind because I had become a big fan of variety television at the same time that I was loving radio. I loved them both a lot.
Yeah.
And so there was a time that I thought, I'd like to be a variety TV host.
Yeah.
And Letterman I became fascinated with, just obsessed with him.
Yeah.
And
ridiculously high standards for quality as well.
Yes.
And paving the way. I mean, after Carson and naturally these other folks, but that next generation of talk show was, I don't know, it was really cool.
And it was that whole era where he left NBC because he didn't get the Tonight Show and he moved to CBS and they gave him a new show. They built a show for him.
Right.
Which ironically, we could talk to politics of this, just Stephen Colbert killed, but okay.
Yeah.
But to watch this guy build this new thing on a new network, I was just riveted and I loved him. And so some friends of mine one summer, some teaks at Northwest said, you ought to apply to be an intern. And I said, there is no way in the world a kid from Maryville, Missouri is going to get to intern in New York City.
There's no way that should happen.
Nope.
Yep. That's a job that belongs to somebody at NYU.
That's right.
Or, Northwestern or whatever, right?
And they said, do it anyway. I said, okay. So I applied and I got the letter back. And they said, and I was applying for the summer internship. And the letter back said, sorry, all the positions have been filled. And I said, well, fellas, there you go. It didn't work. And they said, but it says you can reapply for a fall internship. And I said, well, but that's, school's in session and I can only do summer. They said, why? Take a semester off. I go, I don't know. Yeah. All right, anyway, I'll send it in. I sent it in and I got a letter back that said, we've narrowed it down to 15 applicants. We'd like you to come to New York and interview. And I flew to New York as a kid for the first time with my dad. And in probably the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my life, walking into the Late Show with David Letterman to sit down and interview with 15 different departments, I think.
Yeah.
And they all were sizing up who potential internships might be.
Right.
And then I remember with the HR director, she finally sat me down and she said, all right, if you got an internship here, which department would you like to work with? And I said, well, the writers, if I could pick.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I went home and I got a letter about a week later that said, congratulations, you've been selected for the fall to intern with the writers of David Letterman.
Unbelievable.
So I took a fall off and I flew to New York and lived. I don't even know how we afforded it, frankly. I think I got a couple of loans through school to get to do it. But I lived in Brooklyn Heights, New York, as a kid living in Maryville.
My goodness.
And
you went from, again, small town Richmond, like even Kansas City. This is a cow town compared to the
New York City,
center of the world, right? I mean, the capital of the world.
Yeah. I'd never set foot in a place like that. My dad surprised me my senior year with tickets to The Late Show. That was back when you could mail away for tickets and get them in the mail.
How about that?
So my dad gave that to me as a senior gift in high school, took me to The Late Show. And so we sat in the audience. And I thought, oh, well, then that's it. I just thought, well, jackpot, I've hit the I got to see it.
It's all downhill from here.
Yeah. So about 2 years later, to be back in New York in that building again, now interviewing as a potential intern.
Yeah, surreal.
It didn't seem real. I couldn't really believe it. And I think a lot of people thought back then, he'll never come home.
Yeah.
He'll just drop out of school and stay.
Yeah.
But I was in love.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was in love with a lady who I had just met, and that mattered more. And by the way, that was the first time that I began to realize I don't really like people here very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I began to realize culture
is a big thing.
Matters.
Yeah.
Even though, and just being around people who are secularists and even hostile to people of faith.
Yeah.
Those East Coast people, it's a real deal. A lot of them, not all of them.
It is.
There's a lot of good people, but I was in a uniquely hostile environment with a lot of people that didn't like where I came from. I experienced the legitimate hostility.
Stereotypes are very real and very alive.
That we're hillbillies and hicks that don't know what's going on.
Sure.
And I saw it. It's real. So it's not just a throwaway line.
Yeah.
And I was ready to come home by the time it was over.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. So I want to take a quick break and do something that I've punted a bit, getting a little bit out of form for the show. We didn't do a rapid fire section because generally we get to know somebody a little bit personally, professionally, or whatever. And then you really get to know somebody by asking rapid fire questions that put you on the hot seat.
Sure.
All right. So I'm going to go this or that, and you say this or that.
Okay.
Okay. Casey's Pizza or Quick Trip Roller Grill?
This.
Casey's Pizza or Quick Trip Roller Grill?
Are you saying I say this or that, or what I pick? You want me to pick?
Yeah.
Okay.
You pick the one.
Casey's Pizza all day long.
Casey's Pizza.
Yeah.
Tractor Pull, County Fair Concert.
I'm probably a county fair concert guy.
Okay. Deer hunting, crappie fishing.
Crappie fishing.
Chiefs tailgate, Royals game.
Chiefs tailgate.
Bonfire or lake day?
Oh boy, that is a jump.
My daughter had problems with that one too.
Man, I love both of those a lot. Because one's a nighttime and one's a daytime.
I know, you gotta go.
I like nighttime around a fire by an edge, by a whisker.
Bonfire, homemade biscuits and gravy or chicken fried steak?
Ooh, probably biscuits and gravy.
Okay, let's go. Small town diner or big city steakhouse? That one's a given based on your story.
Every time, small town diner.
Yeah. Tornado sirens. Are you in the basement or are you standing outside looking for it?
To my wife's chagrin, I stand outside and look.
Who doesn't? I question the people who just blindly go to the basement.
No, that's my wife. Go to the basement. I mean, if she hears so much as a stiff wind, let's run to the basement.
Gravel roads or highways?
Oh, gravel roads. Yeah.
Church potluck or backyard cookout?
Oh, man. Baptists make a mean dessert.
I'm telling you, buddy, that's where it's at.
Yep.
You can tell when you're at a Baptist potluck.
Yes, sir.
You know, it is casseroles for miles.
My pastor says, I love my pastor's line. He goes, when we all die, really what it all boils down to. Handshakes and casseroles.
Yeah.
I just loved that line.
Yeah,
it really does simplify things, doesn't it?
It does.
When it's all said and done, all this noise, handshakes and casseroles.
Handshakes and casseroles. Friday night football, Saturday farmers market.
Friday night football is hard to beat.
Yeah. Ranch dressing on everything or absolutely not?
I'm not a ranch guy.
Yeah. Somebody described it once as liquid sadness.
I love ketchup. If we're going condiments,
Okay.
now I am a ketchup guy.
All right. Do you wave at strangers or are you minding your own business?
I love the wave to strangers. I always marveled at my dad.
The finger up?
The finger up on the wheel. The finger up. I used to watch that as a kid. And my grandfather was a full-blown wave. I always appreciated that. And it's dying here in this region, but it's still there.
Yep.
And I still try to keep it up.
Yep. The finger up. Midwest goodbye or Irish exit?
I'm an Irish exit.
Okay. Okay. Time to go. Thanks.
I love to vanish.
Yeah.
I have a very difficult time making small talk generally in a party.
Really?
And if I do, it's a terrible discomfort for me. And it has nothing to do with anyone, but it's all my problem. It has nothing to do with anyone else. I just don't. I assume that I'm boring people at all times.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't feel like I offer much to people by way of conversation.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm forcing them to stand and listen to something that they may not want to listen to.
You see the irony in this, right?
Yeah.
The guy who makes his life talking to people.
Yeah.
Now, feeling like.
But you know how I explain it?
Yeah.
You're doing a show for an audience that wants to consume your show. They don't have to listen to you.
Right.
They choose to.
Right.
That's what I always loved about this. It was one way.
Yeah.
People have the option. If they don't like it, fine.
Out you go.
But I'm doing this because it's for me, and you can choose to consume it or not.
Yeah.
When you're thrown into mixed company, you don't know. That person may like you, they may not like you, and the stress of trying to carry on a conversation and sort that out.
Yeah.
No thanks.
No thanks.
So if I can get it out of the if I can show up and bolt,
out you go.
Irish goodbye.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so let's transition now. I want to talk about finding your voice, because the words eventually became your profession, right? They're things you were passionate about. They're things you talk about, right? I'm doing this from a position of enjoyment, right? I want to pursue this career, and then you got to the point where you were relying on those words. People started to say you became the words, you became the thing, and it's not just speaking at that point, because and you're not just doing this inwardly. At this point, you've lived so much, and you're pursuing this thing that's so outward. That's not just speaking, that's influencing. And that influence comes with pressure, right? Like it starts with pressure. So when did you realize that your voice carried weight?
The evolution of my broadcasting career was one that used to be just based on entertainment, and I just wanted to make people laugh.
Right.
And I remember it was 9/11. It was my first morning show. I was on 101 The Fox here in Kansas City. I was 23 years old. I had zero reason to be the morning show host of that format.
Wow.
It was a disaster. It was a terrible show.
Okay.
I was bad at the job.
Okay.
I was talking to an audience twice my age about music that was twice and three times my age.
Right.
It was a mess. But I just wanted to be on a microphone. I didn't care where.
Right.
I didn't think about it.
Okay.
Then I started to realize, there are places that I should be and shouldn't be. This is one I shouldn't be. It was bad.
Okay.
And then 9/11 happens during that time too. So it's not only a bad show that's failing, but it was also a terrible time for the country. This tragedy happened, and I'm live on the air. And the ensuing days after that were just as sullen as it could be. Nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew how to feel. People were angry. People were devastated. And here I had always thought, I just want to do a comedy show. I just want to talk. Well, my boss said, play music. Just keep playing music. Do the weather, play music. And I said, that is just instinctively everything I don't want to do. We need to be talking about this. I knew people were grieving and scared. And down the hall were some colleagues doing talk radio. I'd never thought about talk radio. It was sort of an old man's thing.
Sure.
I didn't know what it was. I just assumed, I grew up, again, music radio, the morning DJ, the wacky guy, getting laughs. That's what I thought. What I was doing was I wanted to do talk radio, but I thought, well, you got to play music or you got to do other things around it to
surely
get to
it
talk.
can't be just talk.
Yeah, I just never thought about it.
Yeah.
So it was post 9/11 that I heard these callers calling in, listeners calling into these hosts, and these hosts are talking back and forth with the listeners. That was the first time I met the Rush Limbaugh show on the radio. And I started listening to talk radio and Rush and kind of walking me through 9/11 and how we wound up here and what this was and trying to sort out. I thought to myself, I don't know what I think about these things. I don't know geopolitics. I didn't even know the word geopolitics.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah. It's a huge world.
And it was the first time that I thought, if I'm going to be behind this thing as a broadcaster, I have a responsibility, it seems, to know what the heck's going on in the world.
Right.
And have an opinion on these things.
That's conviction, man.
I didn't know it.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what was happening to me, but that was what I was feeling. And I groped around for a while dealing with trying to figure out, how do I get to a place where I'm talking every day? I ended up fired from that job. I got hired on a short-lived radio station in Kansas City called The Planet, which was a disaster, just a mess of a thing. It was owned by Union Broadcasting.
Yeah.
Who owned WHB 810 Sports Radio.
Okay. But The Planet, I gotta say, when that came out, I loved the music that they played.
Yeah.
Loved it. It was like, it just hit me right in the feels.
It was supposed to be. It started out with a great idea, and then unfortunately some people managing it really made a mess of things.
Sure.
I mean, it was crazy stuff, like the boss would come in and go, just play Sweet Caroline, because he thought it was fun. And I was like, well, that's not how you run a radio station. No, you're not supposed to do that. Yeah. It was bad. Like, you're not supposed, you're playing this album. It was called AAA, Adult Album Alternative.
Okay.
And it was meant to be sort of that unplugged 90s grunge.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it was supposed to be. And then, like I said, the boss would come in and go, play Sweet Caroline for my girlfriend. I was like, you can't play Neil Diamond in the middle. And that's not how you run a radio station. Yeah. So anyway, it didn't work out long term.
Yeah.
But next door was a little 1510 AM signal that they owned, a little talk station that was just on during the daytime. And after about a year and a half of me just banging my head against the wall with this revelation in me that I wanted to do talk radio, the boss there came to me one day and he said, Monday morning, you're done on The Planet, and you're going to come in and you're going to do the afternoon talk show on 1510 AM, starting effective Monday.
Had you expressed any interest in this at that point, or was this just his decision based on what he observed?
His decision, because I wouldn't shut up and stop talking, and I was talking too much and not playing enough music.
Yeah, you got to hit the clock, man.
Yeah, they were very frustrated with me. Stop talking so much and play the music.
Okay.
I was like, I don't want to play the music. I'm the entertainer here.
Yeah.
You know, it was that arrogant kind of people should want to hear from me. Yeah. You know, there's an element of arrogance in this business, and you have to have a bit of it to believe that people would be wanting to hear you, right?
Sure.
But
you got something to say.
But not on a music station. The point of my bosses were always, dude, I appreciate that you're funny. I appreciate you have things to say.
Yeah.
This is a music station. Play the music. And I hated being told play the music.
It's a box.
Yeah. So they said, do a talk show. And that was the first time, and you and I had a conversation about this starting. The first time, even though you think, boy, I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to share my opinion. I'm going to go. The first time you're told you have 12 minutes till a commercial break, go. Start to finish, go. All right, top of the hour, the show starts. You have 12 minutes to commercial, go. And so you come on and you, hey, it's the Chris Stigall Show. Welcome in. Boy, can you believe that thing that happened last night? You talk about it. And then you look up and the producer's staring at you through the glass.
You got 8 minutes left, bro.
8 minutes. Stretch, he's saying. Stretch, keep going. And I'm out of stuff because I've talked already. I've said everything I wanted to say. I said it fast. And so you had to learn to what we call peel an onion, to be a conversationalist like you are. And it's harder than people think. They don't realize that to do a show well, people hear it and they say, boy, that sounds like fun. Those people are just sitting around having a conversation. There is an art to that. Yeah. It's hard to do, and it's hard to do in a sustained way every day. It takes practice, and it does take discipline. Yeah. To be a good conversationalist actually takes practice.
Yeah. Well, and too, like it's much easier to be the conversationalist if you know what you're talking about, which I think speaks to 25 years in the broadcast business. Talking with some of the people that you've talked with, you can't just get away with knowledge of local community things. You've got to know what's going on overseas. You've got to know what's going on in the major tabloids. You've got to know, the backgrounds and the stories, the news of it. And then you've got to have an intelligible opinion on it. And then somehow or another connect with the people who want to listen to you. Like it's ridiculous.
It is. And when you're young and so full of,
Vic and vigor.
That's right. you think far too highly of yourself. You think it's all your own doing. You suddenly, and this is where the pressure that you had mentioned comes in.
Yeah.
You start to think, well, I got here because I'm so good, or I'm so talented, or whatever you tell yourself, and then it becomes your entire existence.
Yeah.
Hanging on to this thing.
Yeah.
That you did. I
Right.
put that in air quotes, and that'll drive you to drink, which it did.
Yeah.
And that is where things went sideways for me. And I remember people calling into the show and saying, you're too young, you're 20-something, you don't even have a family yet, you don't know what you're talking about. I used to get so angry at that.
Right.
And it just I couldn't fathom not winning everyone over. I couldn't fathom not having the answers to everything all the time.
Yeah, just because you're young.
Yeah, I was so angry about that, and so on edge, and so pressure filled. And it's funny now, as an almost 50-year-old guy looking back at it all, how I mean, when you're young, you think you know everything, and you don't. And I now understand that. And by the way, at no point was I welcoming Jesus along the walk with me throughout all this.
Right.
That came later, and I recognize that too.
Sure. Yeah. So that pressure, that public pressure deeply affecting you, right? How does that impact the guy's character? How does that, manifest itself in your trajectory or the path forward when you have a situation like that?
And I think men uniquely battle this. I don't think this is unique to me as a talk show host.
Okay.
Men are the thing they do so often. Men, when they greet one another, so what do you do? That's our calling card. That's how almost always you start a conversation with somebody. What do you do? And I think men wear what they do, or what's on their business card, or how they introduce themselves as who they are.
Right.
Instead of focusing on whose they are. And I have come to learn over time, I don't have to lead with, I'm a talk show host. But for years, that's what I was. That's all I wanted. That was my identity. That was what I wanted to hang on to. That's what I wanted people to think of me as.
Right.
And when you're trying to control that every waking minute of every day, all by yourself, you isolate yourself, you become a pretty miserable person, and then you start to rely on things to self-medicate, which I did. And it's a disaster.
Yeah.
You can't do that to yourself, and I don't care what your job is.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that so much. And I appreciate your transparency on something like that, right? Won't go too deep there, but there is a element of...
And by the way, I'm happy to, because I think it helps people.
Okay.
I think men need to know that they should not. They need to put their trust and faith in Christ. They cannot rely on themselves. You are not strong enough to do it yourself. You can't hang on to it.
Well, thank you for saying that.
You can't. And if you think you can, what you will end up doing is self-medicating. You will turn to sex, you'll turn to porn, you'll turn to booze, you'll turn to drugs, you'll turn to anything to quench and medicate that pain of trying to control the universe yourself. And until you hand the universe over to Jesus, who controls it all anyway, and you say, I'm nothing, you're everything, your will, not mine, until you're willing to say that, you're headed for disaster, man. So everybody needs to know that.
Love that. Thank you. Yeah, I famously talked, well, it's not famous. It's famous for the people I know. It's called that a God-shaped hole.
Yes.
Yeah, you try to fill it with anything and everything that you think will make you happy or will bring you pleasure or whatever. And then until you literally delight in the Lord and ultimately realize that He will give you the desires of your heart, then you're spinning your wheels.
I will tell you, it was just 7.5 years ago that I finally got completely sober and stopped drinking entirely.
Okay.
And I haven't had a drop to drink since.
Wow.
And I'm proud to tell that story because I had that God-shaped hole.
Yeah.
Jesus came to me and said, do you believe? I mean, the Holy Spirit genuinely convicted me on that and said, do you believe what you say about me?
Yeah.
When you testify about me, do you believe it?
Yeah.
Or not? Because if you're sitting here on a bar stool, what are you telling people about your trust in me? I was so convicted one day when I heard it was a sermon on the man at the pool at Bethesda, John 5. That's sort of my life verse. Do you want to get well?
Yeah.
Do you want to get well? Jesus asks the guy. And he's whining and he's complaining and he's making excuses. That was me. I was the guy on the mat at the pool. And I just, when I finally decided I don't have to live like this, I don't have to try to control the universe myself. And it changed my life.
Yeah.
It changed my life.
Yeah. So, I mean, to continue to go down that path there, you can't have an experience like that and live so publicly without people then seeing that change in you and calling that out.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like, there's guilt, shame, people trying to smear, basically this is who you were, and now this is who you are, and whatnot. I mean, gosh, man. Then this platform that you've made your life on, you've got another message to share.
Where I actively avoided this, by the way.
Really?
I spent years actively avoiding this conversation. So that's the other problem with that.
Well, that's my question.
Yes.
Like, have you ever feared what you'd say? Right? Because I mean, there's a part of this group that's listening to you that may or may not believe what you say, or based on what you say, they're going to immediately lose interest. Right? Oh, now he's a Christian. He's a kook. Or oh, he's whatever. He's out. I'm no longer listening.
Lay off the Jesus.
Yeah.
I get those emails still
and
today.
There's a consequence for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I had bosses tell me that. Don't with the church. How about you don't? I trained myself for years. Don't talk about my faith. Don't do it because it's too polarizing. It's too. And so I used to think to myself, well, church was something I do on Sunday. Yeah. And then Monday through Saturday, I live a secular life and I don't talk about that.
Yeah.
That's private to me.
Yeah.
What a mistake. What a terrible waste of time. But I think that's how a lot of Christians live their lives. We're conditioned to think, well, let's not foist our Jesus on anyone else. It's not about that, but it's about living it out and sharing it.
Transparently.
We're committed to, as Christians, to share the gospel.
Yeah.
When appropriate, not club people over the head, of course.
Sure.
But yeah, that sort of apologetic stance of, well, I'd better not let anybody know I'm a Christian, to, you know what, not only am I a Christian, it informs everything about my day.
Yeah.
It's how I start, and I can't look at the world around me and not view it through that prism anymore.
Well, I appreciate that, and I want to thank you for that, because your approach to this and the way you're doing it has had an impact on me. When I first started this podcast, the approach that I would talk to people who would come on the show was, I'm a Christian guy hosting a non-Christian podcast, but I'm not afraid to talk about Christian things. And it was literally like an excuse. And the longer I've done it, the more I realize that I'm not going to be on this world forever. I do have good news to share. And now it's just, okay, you're going to get it. I'm not going to shy away from my faith. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to invite people on here to talk about it. And it's still not a, quote unquote Christian podcast, but I'm a Christian man and I'm proud of that. And I want to have people on who understand that as well. And I want to talk about that, talk about their stories, but no story that we talk about is absent the provision of God.
Amen. And imagine doing this for another 25 years and, or more. And then someday when you're an old man and you're laying there on your deathbed, do you think you're going to think to yourself, oh boy, I wished I'd done more secular stuff on my show? I mean, I think when you audit yourself in your last days, you're probably not thinking, oh, I wished I'd talked a little less about Jesus.
Yeah.
I wished I can't imagine that, right?
Yeah.
The value in this conversation, the value of your testimony and our witness, all of us as Christians, people need to hear that. They need to have hope and optimism. Mm-hmm. As we all know, there are people that are battling with dark, dark things and demons, and they just don't see a way out, and they think they're not welcome in a body of believers for whatever reason because they hate themselves. And it breaks my heart. I see it. When I see people, even people that I politically can't stand, mm-hmm. people that I genuinely can't stand, and then I find out, well, they have some kind of crushing dependency on something.
Yeah.
My heart hurts now.
Yeah.
I used to think, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
Now they finally got theirs.
For me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I actually think that's sad mm-hmm. because I know what grips them.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. So do you remember the time that you actually said, I'm done hiding. I'm just going to be just going to do it. I'm just going to, submit to that.
Yes. So, I've shared this on my show for a number of years, and I don't mind sharing it here. I was fortunate in all the years that I drank that I didn't run afoul of the law, except for once. And I got a DUI. And as a talk show host, when the officer who pulls you over and you're sitting in the back of his car and he's listening to your radio station and then says that he listens to your show, your world starts to kind of collapse.
Yeah.
And the facade of all of it starts to collapse.
Yeah.
And then you think, well, how am I going to keep this secret? I'm a successful talk show host who's just been popped for a DUI.
Yeah.
I can't, there's no way. I'm not going to be able to keep this secret. But I tried. I tried for a while. And then people who really hate your guts and mean you harm and want to get at you, they dig and they dig and they dig until they find it. And that got exposed. And that was the moment that I finally said, I got it. I can't hide who I am anymore. I can't hide this. So there's no reason to not just be fully transparent about it. How much I regret it, how embarrassed I was, the shame in it. Thank God I didn't hurt anybody. But again, and a lot of people say, I know, well, yeah, you have that conversion come to Jesus moment. It wasn't right then and there. In fact, it wasn't for a bit still before I had this moment.
Yeah.
It was when I would start getting gifts at my birthday, a bottle of nice bourbon. That was what I would get as gifts. And I really, it kind of, all of that was kind of coming down on me at the same time. Like, is this what your whole life is?
Yeah.
Is this what you believe? Is this all you want people to think of you as, a cocktail guy? Like, it just felt wrong.
Yeah.
And so once I finally leaned into it, and I confessed, and I just fell to my knees and said, Lord, I can't do it. I can't control this. I can't do it on my own. And I'm telling you, that day, and people, I know people struggle to believe this, and I never want to dismiss people who battle alcoholism, because I think people hear me say this and might think, well, it should be that easy for everyone. I know that it is not.
Right. No, it's
so let me say it is difficult. Not this easy for many, if not most people, but for me, the Holy Spirit convicted me one day and said, if you're serious about this, we're done with this.
Yeah.
And I was, and I have been every single day since that day. I remember the day, January 6th of 2019, and I've never had a drop since, nor a desire to.
Super encouraging, man.
The Holy Spirit took it from me. It's all I can say. And I don't believe that happens for everyone.
Sure.
But it happened for me, and that's the power of Jesus.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And so I'm not going to, I guess I'll just say, as a candidate now, I'm a candidate for Congress.
Yeah.
And that's not a story that a lot of candidates would share. I'm eager to share that story.
Right.
I want to.
Yeah.
Somebody once said, "Oh gosh, do you think somebody will attack you for that?" I said, "I hope so."
Yeah.
I kind of hope so.
Yeah, here's the story.
I'd love to talk about it. Any excuse I can to testify. That's a wonderful opportunity. So, I mean, if we're going to have a testimony about Jesus in the middle of a public debate about office, let's do it. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I love that.
I think he wants it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of testify, and there's many opportunities to build that testimony into your kids. Can we talk a little bit about your family?
Yeah. Telling them this story, by the way.
Oh, how would that go? So 8 years ago, you had a 12-year-old, 14, 15?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who you're trying to raise to do the right thing and walk the straight and narrow and all of that. And then you got to confess, hey, Dad did something really stupid. Yeah, that's a tough moment, because you'd like to try to hide it from them too.
Sure. At some point, you got to look at yourself and say, what kind of father do I want to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dad's a public figure. Dad's a public guy.
Yeah.
Stuff pops up on Google search, and the kids are online. And I told my wife one day, I said, the kids are going to see this someday. I'm not going to. People started writing stories about it. Like, to see it, I may as well have the conversation.
Yeah.
My kids are just cool. They get it. And I think the secret, I will just say, in parenting generally, boy, be honest about your failings.
Yep.
If you're honest with your kids about where you screwed up and failed, they're going to respect you a lot more than acting like you never mess up.
Sure. Well, and the nature of parenting too is to, I'm thinking about the verse we've used many times on the show is, like arrows in the
hand of a warrior, blessed is the man whose quiver is full, right? Like these kids are your legacy.
Yes.
And another thing that I learned from some study we did was children are the arrows you fire into the future that you'll never see, you know? And so to build them and develop them and to, you know, share your failings and grow and, you know, do all these things so publicly. I mean, it builds a home that is stable.
Yes. And they need to see that you lead unapologetically and with integrity, and that you're not afraid to admit your warts and all.
Yeah.
I wanted my boys in particular, just because I know what young men go through, and I know what young men growing into young adult men who have young wives and young families, that pressure.
Yeah.
I want my boys to not experience the life that I experienced, where the pressure was so great they turned to outside things instead of the Lord.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, when I talk with different people about the news that you were coming, I'm like, hey, what would you talk to him about? What would you ask? Somebody asked me, and it's kind of a conversion of these two items now. You've got a family at home, and you are kind of proclaiming the difficulty to navigate the threats to the family through your reputation or whatever. This person was wondering, shout out Michelle, was wondering whether or not the threats to your family were real. Like how does your public life and the comments that people make about you, the influences that are kind of all around you in the political world, in the talk radio world, the conservative liberal world, how does that really impact your family? You know, is it a security issue? Are you worried about the safety of your family, or is it more like an emotional protection that you're talking through? Is it even real at all?
Yeah, North Missouri is a special place, as you know. It's full of really decent people, and even people that disagree with us on balance. I never want to assume that there's not danger, because there is danger. We're in a very dark and fallen world where people do really hideous, awful things, and so we're always mindful of that. But having said all that, I would choose to be here over anywhere else on the map when it comes to things like that, because people keep to themselves. I think generally when they don't agree with someone on balance, it's not physical threats, it's not intimidation and things like that. And so I've always appreciated that there's a civility and a common sense to us, I think, culturally in North Missouri. So I don't worry about the family's safety like that necessarily. What I worry about are the kids and my wife, a little less because she's really kind of grown up too. And by grown up, I mean grown up and gotten wise to the political ramifications of doing what I do publicly and what that means. She's learned to navigate it. Yeah. She was new to it at first and didn't like it much. But I try to leave the kids out of it. I always kind of ask them if they're okay with me posting stuff about them on social media. I don't just do it without their permission. Make sure they're comfortable with it.
It's important. I've done that a time or two and gotten a hand slap. Dad, that picture doesn't make me look very good.
Oh, Anna and the picture posting. Why does that picture look like this or that? I mean, she's got a thing about her pictures, as I think young women do. So I try to ask them always for permission before I do anything like that. But I don't, in deciding to do this one worried me actually more than anything I've ever done publicly. Running for Congress was a different decision. Because I knew that there was going to be a primary. I knew there were going to be people that wanted very much to see me fail at this. I knew there were going to be people there are literally people that are professionally paid to try to defeat you. Yeah. And so I gather the family and we have a meeting and I say, I think I want to do this. And I just want you to know that in the coming weeks and months, it's probably going to get nasty.
Get real.
And you're probably going to hear and read and see things about Dad that aren't true. And if you do, and you have a question, I hope you'll come to me and ask, and we'll have an honest talk about what is and isn't. But just brace yourselves. This is going to get uncomfortable. And I think because we had that transparent conversation and they understood that going in, they're pretty wide-eyed about what it is and isn't. They're leading their lives mostly, and I don't think they
Yeah.
I don't think they spend tons of time thinking about it, really,
Right.
to be perfectly honest.
Well,
but,
no, that's good. That's the answer that, only you can really provide. So
yeah.
I'm sure Michelle would have some follow-up for you, but that seems reasonable to me.
Well, I appreciate the question, Michelle. I do, because my daughter is still in school, I am mindful of her navigating, I don't know, kids or teachers that may not like me or may not want me to be successful, or may, it becomes a thing like, are they going to take their dislike of me or my candidacy
out on
my daughter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I've seen no evidence to suggest that's happened ever. But I think that about myself because I just know how sometimes people are.
Right. But wasn't the nature of life in Missouri versus life in Philly one of the reasons that you moved back here?
Oh, yes.
I mean, I think I heard that on one of the recent something that I was listening to. How did that go? Was that a decision grounded and rooted in protecting your family? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
COVID.
Okay. What was that?
I think everybody has that COVID story, that COVID pivot point. Culturally, we were living in a suburb of Philadelphia, and the COVID madness that swept the country really swept suburban Philadelphia. It was a ridiculous, unconscionable, abusive time in American history. And so when people ask me, why am I running for Congress? This is a demarcation point in Chris Stigall's life, what I'm about to tell you here. This was fundamental and foundational and changed everything. Remember, I told you I was raised and came up and was for many years a practicing United Methodist Christian.
Yeah.
That all changed during COVID. My kids going to public school, that changed, at least for one of them, during COVID. Where we lived changed during COVID. Everything that I thought about everything that I thought I knew changed because of COVID and the abuses that were happening to not just me. I was watching young people committing suicide out there. It was some of the darkest stuff I have ever... That was as supernaturally a dark time as I think I've ever personally experienced. I hope I never experience anything worse or anything like it again. But I said to Christine during COVID, after almost 2 years of the kids' school being closed, our church was closed for almost the same amount of time, closed. And then when it reopened, immediately the woke George Floyd stuff started coming from the pulpit. And I just looked at her. It felt like my community had been hijacked.
Really?
I said, we've got to get out of here. We've got to go home. And so that's what we did. I told my bosses, I said, I'm sorry. I love you and thanks for everything you did, but I got to get home and go back to where I come from and where I love and where people are normal.
That's bold.
And I was going to quit. And thankfully, my employer, Salem, said, why don't you just go back home, build yourself a studio, and keep doing the show from home? And so that's what I did. In 2020, I came back and started doing my show from my Kearney studio. And that's where I continued to work until I decided to run for Congress. And that's all thanks to the Salem Media Group. That company, a Christian-founded company, a faith-based company, really, in my view, the last broadcast company worth a darn out there. They said, they thought enough of, I guess, the show, me, whatever. They said, just go do the show wherever you'd like to do it. Yeah. And so we came home.
Very good.
Where, again, churches weren't closed. And by the way, recommitted my life to Christ. All of us, the entire family, got rebaptized at Kearney First Baptist Church. Yeah. My entire life, my relationship with Christ, my view of Scripture, the importance of Scripture, hearing a man of the cloth in the pulpit preaching the Word of God, all of it just came flooding in, and that's God's work in COVID. By the way, as much as I talk about it being dark, God was very much in it, in that it woke guys like me up anyway, and I think a lot of people, particularly men, particularly young men. God was saying, hey, here's what's true and here's what's not. It really started separating the wheat from the chaff. Yeah. And are you preaching from the Bible? Are you telling the truth? Or are you just doing Oprah sessions from the pulpit, right? Yeah. And I, for the first time, really began to really understand what I was consuming as a Christian or not. Yeah. What was missing. Yeah. So I guess I have COVID to thank. Yeah. that I'm a stronger Christian today because of it.
Yeah, there's so many things, where the bone breaks, when it heals again, it's often stronger than, it ever was prior to, in that that scar tissue, in that healing area. So that makes sense.
I tell people today, and they say, why are you running for Congress? That moment,
Yeah.
Obamacare 2006 bothered me. I was deeply disturbed when President Trump was treated the way he was in his first term and lawfare was waged against him. That COVID era broke me. Made me angry.
Yeah.
And I said, we cannot allow a government to ever, ever, ever get that kind of control again.
Yeah.
Joe Biden forcing people to take shots if they wanted to keep their job. That can't happen in the United States. That can't happen to a free people. You cannot have a government telling people to take some medicine that they don't want to take to keep their employment. That is a line in the sand for me as an American, that if we didn't course correct, and then ultimately the president's home being raided,
Right.
The president nearly being killed, I said then, if this president does not win this election, the country is effectively over. I believed that.
Yeah.
And I think we were that close to losing the country through that period. And so those few years, these last few, have deeply disturbed me, which is why I'm here today.
Yeah.
People say, why would you leave 25 years of a successful radio career? Because I'm that deeply disturbed.
Yeah.
And I love our home in North Missouri so much. I do not, without a fight, ever want to hand North Missouri over to that kind of culture ever.
Yeah. Let's turn. I think, we've buried the lead long enough, I think.
Yeah.
The lead, right, is you are here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't probably have had the same opportunities to talk with you. Maybe had you not been in a campaign run or whatever, but I'm not going to complain. I think this is good for both of us.
Well, I'm enjoying it.
But the nut that I'm trying to crack, right, the center of this onion is the cost of conviction. You are now very publicly, very openly discussing things that are tremendously polarizing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking about I don't want to call it your stump speech. We'll get there in a bit, but like, you talked in the first, 4 or 5 minutes of what's on your website. You talk about genders, and you talk about law enforcement, how it's being treated, and it's literally like you're exposing all of the things that are polarizing and welcoming a fight, and that conviction, that, we're talking about, being so open with your faith and saying that story, and realize there's going to be a possible consequence, positive or negative, as a result of that. Mm-hmm. That's like just the beginning. I mean, you start talking to two genders, you start talking about politics and these other, elements. I'd have to go back to your speech to run through the details, but I mean, that's crazy.
Stigallforcongress.com, Stigallforcongress.com. You can watch that speech.
There he goes. Yeah.
And also make a donation if you'd like at Stigallforcongress.com. My campaign manager's here. He wants me to.
Oh yeah. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Okay. But like, what is the cost for that conviction? Like just from the outside looking in, I'm seeing, you're taking a 25-year career and you're saying, I'm out for this. This is costing you personally, and it's not something you have to do. Like, this is something like you're choosing to do this, and like I just wonder why.
Mm-hmm. People ask that a lot, and I say, because I genuinely believe what I just said. We were this is the 250th anniversary of the country. Mm-hmm. I think Donald Trump, and I don't say this again, I always like to say this from the stump, I don't worship Donald Trump. I don't think Donald Trump is Jesus. So I don't want anybody to misunderstand this here. I do believe Donald Trump, like every leader, good and bad, is ordained by God. I think Donald Trump is the leader for this time in history. I believe Donald Trump quite literally saved this country from total destruction. despite what seems to be an impossible set of circumstances, he's still standing today and governing today. And I think had he not, we would have lost the country. I believe that. So when I decided this opportunity came to represent North Missouri, I thought to myself, if he can leave his private life, which was extraordinarily comfortable, and everybody loved him. He did the talk show circuit. He hosted a game show. He was fabulously wealthy.
Yeah.
Nobody disliked Donald Trump.
Right.
For him to decide the country's in a sorry enough shape, I'm going to have to do this myself. And he gave up more than anybody else has ever given up, and at great personal cost. His home raided and shots fired and, dragged through multiple courts of law and mug shots. He's inspired me, quite frankly. And I just said to myself, well, it seems to me after 25 years of talking about issues and having debates and listening to what the voters in North Missouri and around the country that listen to conservative talk radio care about, I know the issues. I know how to battle. I know how this is done. I know what I think about all the issues.
Yeah.
Why not me? That's the way the country was founded. I don't look. I'm going to be 50 if I'm sworn in January. I'm not doing this because I'm trying to make a career of it. I don't want to be governor or senator or president. I want to represent our home for a time while I'm effective, and I think I can be right now.
Right.
I don't want to be an 80-year-old rattling around Congress.
Right.
I want to do this right now while I think I'm good. I'm good on the issues. I think I'm good in communication. I think I'm good to fight.
Yeah.
I think I'm good to represent our home for now, not forever.
Right.
So I think, people talk about term limits or whatever. This just felt like a window of time in my life where God said, you can do something here. Go do something more. People have been awfully good to me. North Missouri has been awfully good to me for a very long time. As we talked, it's where the people that I've loved the most, the community and friends that have supported me and given me all these opportunities. I want my kids to feel that same kind of opportunity. Yeah. And I feel now's maybe a bit of time to serve and give a little back. I don't want to make too much of sounding, self-congratulatory about it. It's a point of pride for me to be able to represent our home.
Yeah.
It is not a career move.
Yeah, that's what I'm wrestling with. It's the line between ambition and responsibility is very fine. Sometimes it might even be a grayscale, just depending on the circumstances.
I think the politician who wants to climb, you will spot them from a mile away.
Yeah.
I think politicians who, again, I say I'm a 50-year-old man with a 25-year career in broadcasting, and I love it. And I love broadcasting. I love communicating. I do not, and I can't, you're going to have to trust me on this. The idea that I would go run for some other office or stay in this until I'm, I don't know, whatever, infirm. I don't have any, that does not appeal to me even a little bit.
Right.
I don't want to run campaigns are hard.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to run for a statewide office like a Senate. I wouldn't want to run for national office. This is enough. This is our home.
Yeah.
This is a job I can do.
Yeah.
And that's enough.
It is. Can we talk a little bit about the campaign?
Please.
Sure.
Like
I said, working with David and Brennan and, these different folks that are, kind of helping you orchestrate your platform, your campaign itself. You got a lot going on, right? We're talking weeks ahead. We're trying to identify how much time you've got. I'm up against the clock here now. How does this go? Like, how do you, and again, I'll show my ignorance here. I didn't know that the Missouri 6th District was as big as it is. It's 33 counties.
Most people don't know that.
Across, the east to the west, it's Hannibal, Chillicothe, Brookfield, Hamilton, Kirksville, Maryville. Yeah.
Tarkio.
Yeah. Major communities across the entire Northwest, I say Northwest because I'm Northwest Missouri State, go Bearcats. But across the entire northern Missouri that have people who legitimately have legitimate opinions.
Yes.
And they are going to be impacted by this.
Yes.
So how do you meet those people? How do you connect with those people? And again, this maybe is a better question for David. I'm not sure, but how do you build a campaign that communicates with them and talks to them?
Yeah. You you're challenged maybe by that more than anything else.
Sure.
How do you get in front of as many people as possible in this window of time? That is the biggest challenge. And so, and as vulgar as it sounds, and I hope everybody will just bear with me here and not pucker and think, oh, here he goes. He sounds like a politician.
I love not PG-13. I love the raw.
Yeah,
give it to us.
Well, it takes money.
Yeah.
I know people don't like hearing that,
Yeah.
but the unfortunate nature of this business is you're not going to be able to shake 750,000 people's hands
Yeah.
and knock on every door.
Yeah.
You know, people say, why is there so much money in politics? I'm a media guy, so I can say this.
Yeah.
Media costs money to advertise on it. I am now
It's a business.
I am now I guess, for want of a better term, my campaign or me, whatever, is a sort of a product. And so for all the years that I have been on the air endorsing other people and talking about their products and their services, I'm now on the other side of that transaction.
Yep.
And I've always said to people over the years, you got to market, you got to talk about who you are, you got to buy advertising and tell people about you, or they're never going to know. It's, you know, in media sales, that's a hard thing to convince a small business to do because, you know, money's tight.
Sure.
Nobody wants to, you know.
Sure.
Well, that's the same with us. So now our campaign has to market. We have to tell people who we are, and that costs money. You go buy advertising time on TV or on radio or in social media. Costs money. Stigallforcongress.com, Stigallforcongress.com. So that's where the money, when people talk about money in politics, so much of it is that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is a bitter reality, but yeah, I mean, you can't talk to everybody all at the same time.
Now, having said that, we have driven to and traveled to and been through all 33 counties, many, not all 33 every time, but we've been through all the counties, and we're making multiple stops as fast as we can in many places we can, wherever we're invited. Sometimes it's creating events and inviting folks. Sometimes it's events people are hosting, and we ask if we can come crash them, right?
Yeah.
So you try to, and through just friendships and relationships all over North Missouri, you call somebody in Clark County and say, hey, is there something going on that we ought to know about?
Sure.
And they say, oh, yeah, the local steak fry or whatever. Well, I've never been to the steak fry in Clark County, but I'll come if you want me to. And they say, come on up. So I go meet a whole bunch of new folks in North Missouri I've never met before and plug into their steak fry, and we talk about the campaign. But it's
awesome.
One stop after another like that.
Yeah. I'm hesitant to go this direction, right? Because it sounds like a softball question for you. I feel like it's a question that we need to hear. And I have, and so I'll ask it and then trust that the people who listen to my show are giving me the benefit of the doubt.
You're letting them know you're about to disappoint them.
No,
that's dangerous.
It's not. It's so on the nose, right? The question is, what kind of men do we desperately need right now?
Ooh.
And again, this is the opportunity for you to grandstand and pontificate about all these wonderful things, right? And people can choose to believe it or not, right? So I know that I'm loading the barrel for the answer that I want. I'm loading the gun for the answer I want. Potentially, maybe I'm not. You tell me. What kind of men do you think we need?
I think it's a simple answer, really. I think it's men who are willing to tell the truth and do so unapologetically. Weak men that are scared of their own shadows. Yeah. I just can't stand it.
Yeah.
I'm not, and I don't mean physically tough. I don't mean you got to be able to lift a Buick over your head or whatever. I'm not that guy. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I've never thrown a fist in my life, and I don't intend to.
Yeah.
I don't mean that.
Right.
But you've got to be willing to look someone in the eye and say, there are two genders. That's it. And I'm sorry if you don't like that. I don't hate you if you don't believe that. I'm not mad at you if you think you're not the gender you were born, but I'm telling you that is a pit of hell lie.
Yeah.
The Bible says it's a pit of hell lie, and I'm not backing off of that.
Right.
And so we'll just agree to disagree if you disagree. But if you think that I'm just going to wither and say, oh, well, okay, if you think you're not a man but a woman instead, I guess I'll just, I'm sorry, I will not participate in that because I think it is a threat, specifically a threat to our women. Young women and girls and our wives, we as men must protect young women and girls. And if we're not capable of doing that, then what the hell kind of man are you?
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. And there's I'm sure you've heard it. It's classic. It's out there. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. You know,
great.
So you the circular argument of where are we in this this process, right? It would appear that that strong men before us have created good times, which have subsequently created weak men, and so now the hard times that we're experiencing are producing strong men.
I think you and I are in a generation, that Gen X generation. My grandfather and men of our grandfather's era, that if they call it the greatest generation or whatever, that World War II era, I think it produced, and I'm sorry, boomers, I love you, but I do think that the boomer generation had it pretty good. And I think we're now reaping the consequences of that easier time, that kind of, counterculture, if it feels good, do it thing.
Yeah.
We Gen Xers are products of that. And I think so when I talk to people my age, almost without exception, they all crave a return to the traditions of those things that I talked about growing up with my grandparents in Richmond, Missouri. Yeah. I find that common thread with almost every Gen Xer I meet. It's not a dislike of the parents. Don't misunderstand. I love my parents, but my grandparents have always been my North Star. The way they led their lives, the way they really didn't have much, but they had plenty. They had enough.
Yep.
Their stillness, their just decency. And again, it's not. It sounds like I'm dumping on my parents. I don't mean that, but I just think there was a resolve to that greatest generation, or something that we Gen Xers desperately crave to return to, and I hope we're role modeling for the generations that have come after us.
Yeah.
I don't know if you share that point of view, but that's kind of where I am with it.
Most definitely. I most definitely do. The enough is enough. I mean, there's a I'm gonna hold that for a moment though.
Okay. We got soft in that it was like, well, all right, if that's what you think, if that's the way you feel about it, all right, well, who am I? Bygones, whatever. This kind of passive, if it feels good, do it, do whatever you want, who are we to judge thing?
Yeah.
It chewed us up as a culture and spat us out.
I agree with completely. And as I raise young men, that's something that I am trying to instill in them. And in our home, we did Raising a Modern Day Knight, which is basically raising young men in the sense of how a knight might go off to be trained in that. And we say a man rejects passivity, accepts responsibility, leads courageously, and he does all these things for the sake of a great reward that awaits him in heaven. And the rhetoric you're using about, oh, it's fine, they go off and do it or whatever, that's passive.
Yes.
That's a very passive approach, and it's weak. It is your responsibility, insofar as you're in the room, to protect yourself and those around you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you, by rejecting that passivity, you lead people into a way that is courageously, and you do that for the sake of glorifying God, for the sake of that great reward ultimately in heaven. And that applies to your school, that applies to your family, that applies to your community. I mean, it goes so far. So I'm with you. We're on the same page.
Yeah, I know this sounds a little too self-aggrandizing. I don't mean it this way, but it's just, I feel this. Removing my children from their schools, removing my family from a church that lost its way, was painful, uncomfortable, contentious. Teenagers,
and necessary.
It was a messy storm, and I'm glad I did it. I did it with the help of the boldness of God, backing that the whole way. It was absolutely necessary. Yeah. It was the most painful, difficult thing that we did as a family. And I hope that my kids will say in a few years, thanks, Dad.
Yeah. While you're reading from the script, that's one of the questions I had for you finally, when we get there. what you think your kids will say and what they'll look back and reflect on this time. So
I hope
we'll give you more.
Or they'll say, man, did he screw things up? I don't know. There's a possibility they may. I don't know.
That very much. I doubt that very much. Okay. Before we wrap, there's some things that, you talk about those people in North Missouri. And I'll put myself in this camp, right? I don't know that much about politics, right? That's why I'm saying, like, this is the nature of my show. I just don't know, right? I'm not a political guy. I'm just more of a relational guy, and I want to talk to people about things. And in this particular case, we're talking with a Christian dude about politics. Many of my friends don't care about politics.
Right.
And again, I think you're humble enough to realize that across 33 counties, there might be somebody who doesn't know who you are. So
yeah, most people have no idea who
I
am.
Which is fair, right? Again, you're saying it. What do you say to that person who has no interest in politics, doesn't care, just has trying to live their life quietly, working wherever? There's $1 million generals across the way, right? I'm just thinking about that hourly employee who's just trying to get by. Yeah. And at the end of the day, they're going to be represented by somebody like you. So, like, what do you tell people in small town Missouri who may feel forgotten about or just like aloof to these sorts of things?
Yeah. I had a woman stop me. We were in Nottoway County last week for the Nottoway County, their annual Cattlemen's Cook-Off. They had a big barbecue contest. It was awesome. There were hundreds of people there, and we had so much fun. And a woman walked up to me at one point. She said, "What are you doing? What are you running for?" I said, "Congress, North Missouri, want to represent you in Congress." And she literally said, and she was deadly serious, she said, "So what's in it for me? What are you going to do for me?"
Wow.
That's what she said. Yeah. And similarly, I had a young man who he just turned 18. It'll be his first chance to vote. And he said, "Okay, well, I'm 18. What can you possibly do for me?"
Yeah.
And in both instances, I said the same thing. I said, "Do you like more money in your paycheck? Would you like less money taken away from your paycheck or more?" I said, "For starters, I'll have the opportunity to vote on whether more or less money is taken out of your paycheck. That's something I'll get to cast a vote on one way or the other."
Yep.
So that's how it might affect you. If we ultimately should decide to go to war or not, is that something that I might vote on? Yes or no on your behalf? And my sons who are 20 and 21, if I ever had to cast a vote like that, that might be something that might impact your day-to-day life. But the thing that I like to say most to people is, why should you care about who represents you? Because you don't really care about politics and you don't pay much attention to it. That's fine until the government comes and tells you if you don't take a shot, you can't keep your job.
Yeah.
Do you like your privacy? Do you like your land rights? Do you like being left alone? Do you like a larger paycheck? These are things that people that hold government offices can either abuse or protect. And so I'm running to preserve and protect a way of life that leaves you alone so that you can not care about politics. That's how I would answer that.
Yeah. I think that is, that's reasonable. And
now I'm one
practical.
Guy. I'll just say I'm one guy.
Right.
435 members of the House of Representatives, another 100 senators. You have 535 people across the country who do not share points of view, who aren't from North Missouri. There are 534 people in Washington, D.C. who will not represent North Missouri. I'm the one. So I don't mean that I'm not claiming vote for me and I'll change your life.
Right.
But I will be your voice and representative to make sure that our way of life and the things you care about are preserved and protected to the extent that I can represent you.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Pedro and vote for me, and all your wildest dreams will come true. Napoleon Dynamite.
Right.
It's you can't commit to that.
Nope.
But I do appreciate the perspective. I'm reminded, my daughter and I a few years ago went to a Holocaust memorial at Union Station when it was here, and they bring all this stuff in, and you get a chance to kind of see the impact of that. And on this great big wall in the museum was this quote: First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. So I'm just hearing that in your approach, and appreciate a voice that.
People can say, I don't know anything about politics. I don't pay attention to politics. I don't like politicians. But the thing is, there are politicians who are paying very close attention to you.
Yeah.
And you need to know that if people, the wrong kind of people, get in control of your day-to-day life. And by the way, it gets worse the closer it gets home.
Yeah.
I'm running for a federal office. Let's talk about, never mind, how many people know who their county commissioners are? Do you know who runs your county?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the impact that somebody running your county has on your local taxes? How about your school board? How about your state representative? How about your state senator? Do you know who those people are? They have a tremendous amount of influence over your daily life, whether you know that or not.
Yeah.
Ideally, if the federal government is doing its job, you won't. There were times in our country's history where you would go months without hearing from the president of the United States or what was going on in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Think about the time before cable news. There was no CNN, no Fox News. No, I mean, people. Ideally, if government's doing its job well and right, you don't notice it. You don't want them in your lives. You don't want them meddling in things.
Yeah.
And I believe that the American left's entire agenda and existence is to control every facet of your life, to conform to their demands and their desires. And you look no further than the era of, what you're doing here, this podcast. When I started trying to publish stuff to YouTube on a regular basis, I'd be shadow banned. I'd be censored. My channel kept getting torn down simply because I would bring up questions about COVID. That's government. Those are people, private sector companies working in conjunction with a government to silence you, your show, your voice on social media. That was happening to countless millions of Americans, not just talk show hosts. That's why you should care about who's elected to the federal government, because if it falls in the wrong hands, all of a sudden you find yourself wondering, well, why do I have to take this thing in my arm to keep my job? Why can't my YouTube channel stay up because I talked about ivermectin or what? That's nuts, but that's where we were. And just a few years ago, I hope people don't forget that.
Yeah. I do too. I do too.
Don Lemon storming into a church this year. This is something that I have said was another one of those line in the sand moments. There are people politically that now believe throwing themselves in front of ICE officers' cars or storming into church worship services to protest immigration. That's now considered acceptable.
Right.
That can't be allowed. That can't be considered acceptable in this country.
Yeah.
You don't have a country if you allow that sort of thing.
Yeah. Agreed. I agree. I realize we're getting short on time, so I want to do something a little different.
All right.
Because I think we have.
I'm enjoying myself, by the way.
Thank you. I'm enjoying this immensely myself.
I hope I'm not boring you to tears.
No, this is.
I guess you'll see in the podcast downloads whether this worked out or not. If you see the data and it says, "Boy, nobody," you're going to regret this one. But
I don't know. I think it's going to be awesome, but.
I think one thing, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt. Podcasting is something that is very unique outside of radio. All the years that I did radio, it was ratings based, which was sort of an imperfect science.
Yeah.
Podcasting is about as brutal a format as there is, because there is the real time data staring you in the face. How many people listen to it?
Yep.
How many people listen to it all the way through?
Yep.
You can see it.
Yep.
It's it's the most humbling thing in the world.
It can be, and it can be. And candidly, I've joked about it with other guests. A lot of times I do those rapid fires at the very beginning, and the first 15, 20 minutes, I'll get through the rapid fires, get to know who it is. They'll see whatever it is. And you can watch the people fall off.
Yeah.
And, like you said, it's humbling and it's brutal. Because man, we hadn't even gotten into the real meat of the conversation yet.
Yeah.
And so at some point I'm just saying, thank you for listening to the first 20 minutes. And I hope next time you stick around, because that's where I think, my approach to these conversations shines, in the long platform where we can actually get to know somebody and talk about it. Right. And see that this isn't just, rapid decision that was made overnight.
Yeah, you know
there's so
what?
much more to it.
You're not doing this show for people with short attention spans anyway.
No.
Like this show isn't for you if you have the attention span of a child or a gnat, then this isn't for you anyway.
Yeah.
This is a show for thoughtful people.
Well, thank you.
I'd like to think that that's what I was engaged in. I like talking to people who are thoughtful and actually like to take a minute or two to walk around and explore things.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we've done a good job of that, getting to know you as a person as opposed to a candidate first. But I do want to give you an opportunity to quote unquote turn the candidate on.
Okay.
Right. So I learned
Stigall4congress.com.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Stigall4congress.com.
Okay, here we go. Now, so there's a term I learned recently. It's called a stump speech.
Mm-hmm.
And that stump speech is, I think you hit on it a bit with talking about the people in Nottoway County at that thing where, what are you going to do for me or whatever, right? I would imagine that you get the elevator request. Why are you doing this? Like, what are you doing this for? What made you do all this? So you got to have a 3-minute, a 30-second version of, a 30-minute version of why you're doing this, right? So I would like to give you 3 minutes to just uninterruptedly tell us why you're doing this. Tell us why you're running and what you see for North Missouri. Is that reasonable?
Sure. And a lot of it, I don't want to sound redundant in the things that we've said, but I guess I boil it down to faith, family, and country. Again, as I say, I have a unique perspective, I believe, at this time in my life. As a middle-aged man with parents, aging parents on Social Security and Medicare, and then 3 children, 21, 20, and 18, who are starting life. They're considering taking on some student loan debt. My oldest he's got an apartment and he's just working. He decided not to go to college. So I'm looking at parents wondering, how they're going to be cared for in their older age. I'm looking at young people starting out their life and wondering, am I going to be able to buy a house? Should I have kids? Can I afford that? And both of those are heavy realities. And I think the way Washington runs has a lot to do with the realities working out for both ends of that spectrum. And then as for me specifically, what I believe is I am best suited to go articulate those things that we care about and that we value and that we worry about and that we want to preserve. I know how to communicate those things because for 25 years I've been talking to people about it every single day. I've been in the arena. I've battled the politicians. I've done the media scene. It doesn't dazzle me. It doesn't impress me. I know this place that we love and call home in North Missouri. So I'm able to go to Washington and represent you, I believe, in an articulate way that explains the positions that North Missourians care the most about. And then similarly can come home and represent what Washington is or isn't doing and explain it. I always like to tell people I will be able to look you in the eye and tell you exactly why I voted the way I voted. Mm-hmm. And if you may not always like it, but I'm always going to be able to tell you why, and I'm happy to do so. I want to come home and be able to explain the why. But as I told you, I think people of faith, I'm deeply, deeply concerned right now that there are dark forces that want to tackle people of faith and take us out of the public square, which is a constitutional right that we have. But more than that, culturally speaking, the culture of death that the left is embracing, Islamism, I think, is a tremendous threat to the West and our way of life. We've got to be on guard about that. Not too long ago, we had wide open southern border. We had a Democrat Party that was, as I say, trying to force people to behave in certain ways in order to keep their job, keeping them from moving about freely, crossing county lines. We were in a really alarming place as a country just a few years ago. And so I want to be able to constantly not only be vigilant about that, but articulate our opposition to that and fight stridently to never allow us to go back to that place. I hope we won't. Not under President Trump, I know we won't, but that's why I'm going. I think this president is consequential. He needs Republicans in Congress who have his back and will help him push what I believe is a consequential agenda for the final 2 years of his term if I'm fortunate enough to get elected. And for a time, as I like to stress, for a time. This is not a career move for me, nor is it something I intend to be doing for 20 years. I don't know. I never put a year on it, but am I going to be 75 or 80 in Congress? I can't. No, I don't want to be. I just don't. I want to represent our home. The people at Kearney First Baptist Church, where I co-lead a Bible study every Sunday, and I'm going to come home every Sunday and teach that Bible study. I'm committed to continuing to do that and be home with my wife and in my church pew. I want to be able to look those people in the eye and say, I represented you well in Washington, D.C.
Awesome.
Is that a good answer? How's that for a stump speech?
Well, it was 4 minutes.
Okay, a little long.
3 minutes.
Little long. The buzzer would have gone off in a forum.
I think, I was keeping it there, but the point is, and again, I think why I did that, and I think it worked out well. We just talked about all that stuff, right? And so you try to summarize it in 3 minutes.
It's tough.
Took 4 minutes. It's functionally impossible, right? So hopefully we can see elements of or residue of the broader conversation in the stump speech, right?
It is hard.
It's there. It's difficult.
People trying to size you up in a few minutes.
Yeah, and it sounds like
it's tough.
like rhetoric.
It does.
Just sounds like the same thing that's coming out of Washington differently, right? But you got to get to know the person. I think that's what I'm trying to do here.
I'm glad you did. I wish everybody had an hour and a half, 2 hours to sit down and talk with me, because it would be a lot easier.
To your point about another takeaway from the show and the Reason Swafford podcast, Jackie and Reason were super happy because they were able to give people more information about what they'd been going through.
Yes.
Talking to one person and spread across the environment of listeners. They've talked to more than 1,000 people in that just by way of listening to that show. You know
what I learned, for instance, when they were going through terrible trauma, my instinct as their friend was, I'd better just leave them alone.
Mine too.
I got to stay the heck out of their way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to hear them say, no, just the opposite.
Yeah.
I thought, that's so helpful. I would never have even thought to disturb them. Right. But you wouldn't know that without a show like yours.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Final questions. Got several questions. We're there. What do you hope your children learn from watching this season of your life? Take any one of these questions. We've only got 5 minutes. When your kids look back someday, what do you hope they say your convictions cost you? And then what's one piece of advice you'd give listeners trying to lead their families well?
Kids need to see that their parents are willing to step out in faith, I think. And for a long time, they didn't see that in their dad. I was too self-absorbed, and I spent too much time trying to, as I said, hold on to my own existence. And so I hope that my kids now in their young adulthood and as they've gotten a little older, I hope what they see is that Dad has stepped out in faith and shared with people his failings and his frailty. I want my sons to have the humility to understand that they don't, and my daughter, but I want them as men to understand we're fallen, we're weak, we're sinners. You can't control that, but you can submit to Jesus and admit that and help other people and step out in faith that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is not weak. That is, I think, the height of being a good representative of Christ, at least I hope. So I think leading your kids that way, telling them that it's okay to be frail. It's okay to fail. It's okay to feel weak. In fact, it is when we are at our weakest that he is at our best, his best for us. So I don't know if the kids look at, me running for office or anything I've done is necessarily inspired, but I do hope that they see that Dad's trying to do it in a I don't know if the word's vulnerable way or an honest way. I just, the mask, the veneer of life that so many of us wear, that I tried to wear for so long, if my kids take nothing else from it, I hope they don't feel the weight of carrying around that veneer of artificiality. I hope they see that what that did to Dad and how Dad hopefully cracked it and has to fight it. And I hope that's the example that I've left for them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Again, thank you for your approach. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for your interest.
This has been really, really special. And I'm so thankful to have you on the show. Anything else before we go?
Well, I feel like you're obligated to vote for me now. Right? Is this?
This is not an endorsement, but it is an introspective look. It is an introspective look. And,
no, in all sincerity, I think this is tremendous. I know you said maybe you don't know much about politics, but the fact that you were interested in having the conversation says that you are. I mean, you obviously care about the direction of things.
Yeah. As we talked earlier, I'm realizing that as I get older, I'm running out of time.
Yeah.
And the ability to build a legacy and the ability to teach my kids things and to influence and apply myself to the community that I'm around it's getting less and less. And so
and your kids are going to talk about this. Important. Someday they're going to talk to their kids about, I remember Dad, he set up a podcast down in the basement. They'll talk about this.
Yeah.
And I would love to be around to hear how they summarize what they're seeing.
Yeah. One of the best compliments I've received to date is from my daughter, who's in Colorado right now. And I don't even know if she knew I could hear her. She was talking to her mom, and she said that on her drive out to Colorado, and while she's been out there, she's been listening to the show because it makes her feel like she's home. And, that means a lot to a dad, but, it means, that people are identifying with the show. No, it's somebody who loves me and maybe has to, like you said, to feel like obligated to listen or whatever. But, it's a special thing to
God's
be
using
like
you for her right now. And if that's all this is, that's more than enough.
Right.
Right.
Thank you again, Chris, for coming.
Thank you.
All right. For those of you listening to the show, thank you. This has been the Son of the Law podcast. Have a great one.